So it is the second day of campaigning for the general election. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer is turning his attention to voters in Scotland.
Yes, and he joins us now from Glasgow. Good morning to you, Sir Keir Starmer. I just want to take you south, if I may, for a little while, to Islington North, where former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has announced that he will stand for the constituency as an independent. He said, "I hope those people who always support Labour will understand that I'm here to represent the people of Islington North on the same principles I've always had as an MP for this area." What do you make of the fact that he will be standing there and will inevitably split the Labour vote?
Well, look, that's a matter for Jeremy. He's obviously made his mind up about that. We will have an excellent Labour candidate in Islington North, as we've got excellent Labour candidates across the country. But in the end, this election is about a choice of, 5 more years of the chaos and division that we've seen over the last 14 years, or turning the page and rebuilding our country with Labour. That is what's on the ballot paper, whether it's in Islington North or anywhere else across the country.
OK, we understand you want to turn a page, make a change, but one of the criticisms of Labour over the past few years is that you are a party divided. Is there a world in which you can contact Jeremy Corbyn, contact other of his allies and say, look, please stand down? This is not beyond the realms of possibility that the Liberal Democrats, for example, could win this seat.
Well, look, this is a changed Labour Party. And we are united in understanding that only parties which are strong on the economy, on our defence, on security and borders, are trusted by the British public. Only parties that have an absolute clarity about the missions that they want to achieve in government, in my case, ensuring we've got economic growth that's felt across the whole country, that we've got an NHS not just back on its feet, but fit for the future, that we've got clean power by 2030, Great British Energy, that we're launching up here in Scotland. That it's a changed Labour Party.
What's important as part of that change is the unity of the party. And we know that within the party, there are some senior members, Angela Rayner, Harriet Harman, who would like to see Diane Abbott reinstated. Is it time to do that? She's apologised. She said, I made a mistake. Time to bring her back for the election.
Well, let me take both challenges you rightly put to me. Firstly, I can tell you there's incredible support in the Labour Party for what we are trying to achieve amongst our members, activists and voters. We've been, if you look at the last let of local election results, we had a by-election with a massive swing to Labour up in Blackpool, 11 out of 12 mayoralties. So I think the idea that there isn't momentum behind this Labour Party, this changed Labour Party, needs to be seen in that context. On the question of Diane Abbott or any other individual, obviously that's subject to party processes. They'll be resolved pretty soon because the candidates have to be, the final list, I should say, has to be announced within a relatively few number of days now. That'll be a matter for our National Executive Committee. But what I'm focused on is the argument that we need to take to the country now over the next 6 weeks about the choice, because the power of the vote is with those watching your programme. And, I would say if you want change, and I think many people do after 14 years of failure, you have to vote for it.
OK, and we will be hearing more of that debate, won't we? Are we right in hearing the reports that you will go head-to-head with the Prime Minister in 2 live TV debates?
Live TV debates of that nature are part and parcel of elections now, so of course there will be live TV debates. But I want to talk for as long as I can to voters directly and take my message to them and hear from them and have that discussion with them about the choice that they vote, because in the end the power is with those voters. That's the beauty, if you like, of our democracy. Power returns now to the voters. So I want to be around the country talking to as many people about the offer that we're putting on the table to rebuild our country after a decade of chaos and decline.
And some of them will make their minds up based on how you perform against the opposition. And there are reports that the Conservatives have offered you the opportunity to take part in weekly debates, so 1 a week, 6 in the upcoming weeks, and you've said no.
Look, there will be debates. But, you know, I could debate the Prime Minister once or 100 times. I know what he's going to say. He's going to stand there and say, everything's fine, the cost of living crisis is over, the NHS is brilliant, nobody's struggling. We hear that every week at Prime Minister's Questions. We have that debate. And I want to talk directly to voters about what Labour is offering and why this is an election which is all about change.
OK, let's talk about what Labour's offering then, because we've heard the new energy price cap this morning. It will see energy bills go down slightly, not massively though. What people say to us when we're out and about is, I am skint. I can't take the kids out at the weekend. I can't plan a summer holiday. Why will Labour make that better for the electorate?
Well, I completely understand that that's what you're hearing, because that's what I'm hearing as I'm out and about. Now, the price cap is important, and we were big advocates of it, you know, a year ago in the middle of the energy crisis, because energy prices were going through the roof. People literally couldn't afford it. But it's not a long-term solution. The only long-term solution is to set up Great British Energy. That's the publicly owned company that we will set up based here in Scotland, owned by the taxpayer, making money for the taxpayer. That will bring energy prices down for good. But the other thing about the cost of living crisis, we need to stabilise the economy. And that's why Rachel Reeves has been so strict about her fiscal rules, because we know that if you lose control of the economy, it's working people who pay the price. And many people have seen their mortgages go up. It'll be part of the discussions I've no doubt that you've had, hundreds of pounds a month because of the damage that Liz Truss and the Tories did to the economy. We have to end that chaos. That is the first most important step that I hope an incoming Labour government will be able to achieve, that we can reduce that pressure on the cost of living.
What people don't necessarily understand is how that economic stability is going to work mathematically. So tough spending rules, grow the economy, keep taxes, inflations and mortgages as low as possible while cutting NHS waiting times. It all sounds great, but how does it equate?
Well, every single one of the first steps that we set out is fully funded and fully costed. So if you take, let's take waiting lists, they're now you know, a record nearly 8 million, which means everybody watching this will probably either be on a waiting list themselves or certainly know someone who is. That has a huge human impact as people are waiting for replacement, you know, knees, hips, whatever it is. But it also means our economy doesn't work properly because lots of people who could be in work aren't at work. Now, that 40,000 extra appointments every week that we have set out as a first step, that will be funded by dealing with the non-dom status effectively and properly, getting rid of it. I think if you live here, you should pay your taxes here, but also by going after those that avoid their tax. There's billions of pounds that aren't collected from those that are avoiding tax. I don't agree with that. So that's where we would put our energies and get those bills, get those lists down.
OK. You talk about where you're going to conserve and apply your energy, and you talk of change. That's the key word for you. Can there be a thing as too much change? Because when we talk to voters, some of them say, I don't know where he stands on anything, and that's partly because of a series of U-turns on abolition of tuition fees, on climate justice, on peace and human rights, when you backed the attacks on Houthi sites in Yemen. Who is the real Keir Starmer is what lots of voters are saying.
I'm glad you've raised that. Let me take it on head on, because tuition fees, or abolishing them, was something that I said 5 years ago now I would like to see. And I do still think that the tuition fee system is unfair. I think it's unfair on those that are at university. It's actually unfair on universities. But after the damage that's been done to the economy, and having costed cutting tuition fees and having costed bringing down NHS waiting lists, I'm left with a choice, a political choice. I can't do both because the economy has been so badly damaged. I've chosen that we will deal with the waiting lists and put the NHS back on its feet. They are choices, difficult choices for leaders to make, but it's a reflection of where my priorities are. Of course, I still want to resolve the tuition fees. There are other ways of doing that, but if I can't afford both, I've got to choose one. I mean, I came into politics late, but I think many people watching this will know, in life, there are lots of things you want to do, but when you actually start working out, can I afford them all, you've got to make some pretty difficult choices.
So long term, you will return to a pledge to abolish tuition fees?
No, we're now looking at alternatives to that, because I don't think we can leave it. So we have to look at alternatives to that.
OK.
But I just say this, because I think it is important. I would much rather make the choices now about what we can't afford to do and tell people before the election so they know, straight from me.
Okay.
If I don't think we can afford it, I'm not going to say it. What I won't do is pretend I can do things and then tell people after the election that it's not going to happen.
Okay.
I think people are fed up to the back teeth with that.
So you're north of the border this morning. You're talking about painting a clear picture for voters. The reality of your 6 pledges, your 6 priorities, is not that many will impact Scotland because of devolution.
Oh, no, I don't think that's right. I mean, if you look at the number 1, which is stabilising the economy, that'll have a massive impact in Scotland because here in Scotland, everybody is impacted by the cost of living crisis as they are across the rest of the country. Great British Energy, which is an important step, is vital for Scotland, and Great British Energy is actually going to be based here in Scotland, and I'll be launching the Scottish campaign later and reiterating our commitment that this will not only be based in Scotland but will create tens of thousands of jobs in Scotland. And this is going to be a change election, but there isn't any change without Scotland, and so Scotland, if you like, is central to my mission to change our country, to change Britain for the better.
And part of a change government is perhaps keeping hold of some of the policies that the former government, if you win the keys to number 10, have pledged. So the smoking ban that's not going to make it through Parliament before the election, will you be reinstating it?
Well, the smoking ban is important. We have supported it. It was supported on a cross-party basis, so I think probably more by my party than Rishi Sunak's in the end. It didn't get through the end process that Parliament is going through. We are committed to it, so of course we want to take that forward. And I hope there's the same cross-party consensus after the election. I suspect there will be, depending on the makeup of Parliament. But yeah, where we've made a commitment, then obviously we will want to honour those commitments. OK,
and finally, Keir Starmer, it is a long 6 weeks ahead. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It can't all be about politics. What will you be doing to kick back this weekend? I'm
looking forward to, I'm holding the idea of walking back into my family home later this weekend and seeing my wife and kids. And when I do so, I'll put the baggage of being leader of the party at the door and I'll become dad.
And compartmentalise it. That's what we all try and do. It doesn't always work out that way, does it?
It doesn't always.
Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party from Glasgow, thank you.
Thank you.